name's Darren, welcome to my workshop. Today I'm going to be trying to use up a little bit more scrap wood. I've got a few pieces here, just little offcuts of jarrah, and we're going to make a little mallet out of it. Ironically, I'm going to turn the handle, and to get to the lathe, just looking over there because that's where the lathe is, I'm going to have to move a heap of scrap wood to get to the lathe to do it. But anyway, here we go. We're going to make ourselves a nice little mallet out of some scraps of jarrah. Now the first thing to do with these scraps, because they are scraps and they've been sitting around for quite some time, is to flatten them, to plane them flat. If you have a look here, you see that in the camera? Yes, you can. If I tilt this every now and again, you see a little bit of light between the two pieces of wood. So I've got to plane them all flat. Then I'll need to cut these to the same height and length. It's not actually going to be this long in the end. This is just how big the scraps are now. There's actually going to be a very small mallet. There we go, and then I'll turn that. I'm also going to run the end of this either across the table saw or the router, I haven't decided yet, and take 5mm all the way around off this and make a same size channel through these two pieces, so as the handle goes through the work on the inside effectively. So we've got like that sort of thing. Now you can see on this piece I've already drawn some lines, and that was me just trying to figure out what sort of angle to cut the head at. I've gone with 10 degrees. That seems like a nice comfortable angle for me. So yeah, before assembly I will be chopping 10 degrees off either end just to give it a nice angle when it contacts the workpiece. Alright. So I put the handle on the lathe, and you can see I've put white markings using my Pica dry pencil on either end. Now those markings basically say to me, stay out of there, this area isn't handle. Alrighty, now I'm not going to try and take this perfectly round. I'm going to try and end up with a somewhat of an oval shape, otherwise it's just going to be, you know, this thick all the way up, which is just too thin. Now I'm going to set my router bit for 3mm depth so I can make the tenon on the end of the handle. So this is roughly the handle. I'm going to cut the bottom off it yet and neaten that up. And this of course is going to be buried inside the head. So in order to get this tenon, or in order to make a mortise in these two pieces for the head, to fit the tenon into, like so, I'm going to use this. This is made by Festool. It's a jig for making dados, circles, various other things, the MFS 400 jig. So here we go, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set the width of this jig to be equivalent to the width of the tenon plus basically the difference between the width of the bit and the width of the template bushing guide. Okay, so the template guide, as you can see, I've written 17 on it because it's a 17mm, and the bit is a 10mm. So the difference obviously is there is 7. Our tenon is 33.9. Let's call that 34. So 34 plus 7 is 41, isn't it? So let's adjust this to 41. There's little measurements on it just to make life easy. Okay, so the template guide, or the guide, has been set for 41mm either end. I've double checked that with vernier calipers, so that's correct. You can see I've put a piece of wood either end to help the guide have something to rest on, the same width as the pieces we're going to cut. And we've got our router bit and in our router all ready to go. Alright, so we're going to do a total of a 6mm depth of cut on these guys. I'm going to do that in a couple of passes so as not to take out too much wood in one go.
There we go, done. Nice. Let's see how that worked out. I bet that's looking good.
Here's a little tip for mixing epoxy glues. I use the top off juice bottles. Great for mixing in because you can just chuck them away afterwards. And there's plenty of them. Every time you empty a bottle of juice, you've got a new little glue mixing container. We're on the home stretch now, everything's together. Most of the edges are rounded off. I'm still going to round these edges yet. And the reason for rounding the edges over is just so as they don't split when the thing's being used. A nice sharp corner is just going to end up blown away when you hit something with it. All right, so the next step, just for a bit of added strength, is I'm going to put 3 dowels, 1, 2, 3 through the head, and that'll just keep everything pinned together sideways and keep it pinned to the handle as well. Just a bit of additional strength. I'm going to drill the holes at different points, or different heights if you like. So the 2 outer ones I've got at 20 millimeters down from the top. The center one I've got 30 millimeters down from the top. And the reason for this is I don't end up with them all in a straight line, which I think might result in cracking, especially after years of hammering. So that's going to sort of share the wear across the width of the wood, or share the stresses across the width of the wood if you like. So here goes. Oh, and also you've probably seen me having this little shim of wood around. It quite literally is a shim, just to make up for the height here of the handle. So when I'm dropping things down to work on them, it's keeping the thing relatively level. So exactly the same height, but it's pretty darn close. All right, here we go.
You'll see I backed out the drill bit a couple of times during the drilling process. That's to stop the whole thing from burning. Jarrah burns fairly easy when it gets heated with friction, so this is to try and reduce that. Okay, so now to glue these pegs in place, or dowels in place. I'm probably going a little bit overboard with the glue here. Let's divide that up amongst the others. Now drill the holes right through, so these dowels are slightly longer than the width of the head, so should protrude slightly from the other side, and then we can cut them flush, send everything into place, and we're done. Probably finish it off with a nice coat of oil. Okay. Okay, through the other side, excellent. Okay, all the pegs are through the other side, so now what we can do is wait for this to dry, and then we can finish the thing off with a nice sand and an oil. The glue being glue, that's going to take a little while. And then just maybe immediately get left over the handle. Anyway, I'm just going to cut these flush, then we'll sand it all, and we will have a completed unit. I am thinking that perhaps the 10-degree ends are perhaps too steep an angle, perhaps I should have gone with 5 degrees.
I'm going to start with the 120 grit sandpaper, and then I'm going to work my way up with 150, 180, 240. I think 240 is more than enough for a mallet, and something that's going to be literally bashed around. Okay, so that's it for the power sanding. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of hand sanding just to finish up the bottom here and the edges of the handle, and then we will be ready for the final oiling. Now to finish the mallet off with a little bit of boiled linseed oil. That should protect the wood well, and something that can be easily reapplied over the years to sort of treat the wood. So it can work for a cricket bat, it can work for a mallet. There we go, starting to take on its characteristics now, that beautiful Jarrah look. Look at the top of that. Gotta love Jarrah, it's a beautiful wood. It's lucky to have this in my off-cut bin. But you could make this out of any hardwood. You could make one out of softwood if you wanted, it just wouldn't last as long. It'd still work. I've seen mallets made out of coconut fibre. They didn't last long, but they did the job. So I'm just going to let that soak in, reapply it, let that soak in, and then give it a bit of a buff. You guys don't need to watch that, so we will be back in a minute. And there it is. Okay, So this is it, this is the mallet. Made of jarrah, tiny bit of pine, I think the dowels are pine. Yeah, pals. But yeah, so scrap wood mallet, all complete. I'm probably going to use this mostly for putting in dominoes, although they usually don't take too much force to get them in. You can usually push them in with your thumb. They're just other little jobs. I think if I was to do this again, I don't think I would go with the 10-degree angle here. I think I'd go with 5. I think 10's a bit severe. I determined 10 because I thought that's the kind of angle my hand, you see my hand there, that's the kind of angle my hand will be at when I want to knock the thing in straight. So that's why I picked 10 degrees. But looking at it now, I think, like I said, that's probably should have gone with 5. Alright, as always, thanks for watching. Hope it's been of some help, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.